And I used to be embarrassed about layaway.
Me too. I remember I was talking to this one girl I used to work with, this Chinese girl, and she was. I told her about layaway one time. She was like, "What's layaway?" I was like, "You ain't never heard of layaway?" She was like, "What are you saying?" I'm like, layaway. She's like, layaway? No, I'm like, I'm from PG. Lay away. Like, you lay it away. You buy it and you make payments all the time, but you keep it behind the counter until you can get. Like, that was basically my entire adolescence was layaway, and just the anticipation of.
We gotta be
we record right
okay,
now.
okay.
Welcome to the Real Estate Wire, folks. Welcome to the Real Estate Wire, everybody. What's going on, Marcus?
What's up with you, Dan?
My name is Dan, the Realtor.
Mortgage Coach Marcus.
And we are back 2023. We are here to dominate your ears.
You know it. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year, people. Happy New Year.
I'm excited about 2023.
Yeah, 2023 gonna be jumping.
Listen, you gotta be.
Because I feel like now everybody's pretty much gotten used to, I think everybody's gotten used to instability. And honestly, I think that we've gotten used to not knowing what to expect. And I know, especially me, financially, I'm more comfortable being in a place of discomfort, of not knowing, of unpredictability, because it's causing me to be more risk averse. It's causing me to stack more bread. It's causing me to spend my money slower. And the last 2 years, we was balling. Everybody was balling. I don't know, nobody was balling.
Yeah.
And when you got a fast market like that, you start throwing money. When the market slows down, it's like, all right, let me think about that. We don't need to go, I don't need the Balenciaga. I can just get,
let me tighten this belt a little bit.
And I think it's good because, we in this business for the long term. I'm 10 years in the game. How long you been in real estate, by the way?
19 years.
Good.
And 9 months. It'll be 20 years, April 12th.
Wow. So what would you do on New Year's? How was your New Year's?
It was good. I was in the bed, basically. We were chilling at the house.
Yeah. Me too, dog.
We had church the next day, so I couldn't do.
Do y'all do like watch night service? When I was in church, we used to do watch night service.
We used to at my old church, but we don't now. But at our church, the middle school kids and the high school kids, we send them off to like Dave and Buster's. They have their own service. Some of the the kids have a great worship experience.
Keep them out the streets.
And then we bust them off to Dave and Buster's, and then they're there from. They're basically in the church in the church group from like 10 p.m. I think up until like 8 a.m. in the morning.
Okay, so it's kind of like a watch night service.
Yeah, they just ripping and running.
But the adults don't do watch night?
Nah, that's something I think that in the next couple of years I'd like to see. Like, if nothing else, the fellas get together and watch something, do something. Play poker. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Have like a casino night type of thing and just.
We used to do watch. We used to go. From I think service probably started like 9 o'clock or something like that.
You did say y'all was in church.
Yeah.
Y'all made every service long,
dude. Watch night service used to start at like 8 o'clock, and we'd be going till like
12:30, 1 o'clock,
2, 3 in the morning.
What?
And then now, so my early teenage years, like we had a whole squad. It was a whole squad of us. A lot of them probably listen to this podcast. What's up, fam? So we would then, after the watch night service, we would go out to eat, like at a diner. So it'd be like 12 of us, like deep. But we go to like, Tasty Diner or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, we'd be deep up in the joint. And then,
cutting up.
Yeah, just doing
teenage stuff.
Church teenage cut up. It's like that's a different level of cut up. It's a different type of cut up.
That might be a different podcast too.
It's a very sanitized version of cutting up. So it's like you cut up within the parameters of your religion, It
depends, but you always get that one or two.
No, we never really. Well, yeah, I mean, it was fun though. I'll say that it was some good, clean church fun. Just you just goof off and make any type of thing fun.
Yeah. We used to do that type of stuff too. I love doing that stuff back in the day. And it's some of the greatest memories. Good friendships, like you said, you shouted out some of your people, like you still some of the people that I grew up in church with, and me being, I didn't share this last time, but I'm a PK, right? So
what's a PK?
Pastor's kid.
Oh, for real?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's what's wrong with you.
Hey, look, shout out to all the PKs out there. Like we be going through it.
At least you're not a PD.
What is a PD?
Pastor's daughter.
Oh,
yeah,
that's my sister.
Oh,
it's still It's still
She
still
wild?
the general term is
Did she
PK.
wild out?
No.
Good for her.
My sister is a good girl. She was always like for real about it.
My dad used to be a pastor.
Really?
I mean, he was an elder.
Okay.
And then this was way back in the day. So basically, my dad was actually I didn't learn this till I got older. I didn't learn a lot about my dad till I got older. But he was a divorcee or whatever. So like according to like the Pentecostal church, which is like a very deep level of Christianity, it's like a whole other
So
like
you grew up Pentecostal.
Apostolic.
Actually. Ooh, no wonder.
It's even deeper than Pentecostal. Like there's different levels, you know, of who's better than who.
Convocations and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what a convocation. What's a convocation?
That's like the big conference where everybody.
Oh yeah. The little conferences, the PCA. Yeah, we was PCAF, Pacific Pentecostal Churches of the Apostolic Faith. Bing bing. I just did a wink to the camera for y'all that can't see.
Sparkle that on.
I'm gonna throw the little sparkle effect on the YouTube. By the way, if you guys are not subscribed to our YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube. We are the Real Estate Wire podcast. We'll go into a lot of that church stuff. So anyway, to continue my story, make a long story a little bit less long. My dad and my mom got married, but my dad was a D4C. So at the church that they were originally at, which was very, very old school, like all skirts, hat doctrine. Like you couldn't go to church without a hat. Like you had to wear skirts, jean skirt revolution. So shout out to the jean skirt squad.
All the way to the ankles.
All the way to the ankles with the princesses and the drop socks at the picnic. So because my dad he was only married for like a couple seconds, but anyway, they was like, well, we're not gonna let you get married because when they didn't believe in divorce.
Yeah.
And my dad was much like me, a very, like we were talking about earlier, free thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Or analytic thinker. I'll say that. He was like, F that. I'm marrying this. I like her. She my lady. And, you know, me and my dad like younger girls. You know, so they're like 9 years apart. Me and my wife like 8-9 years apart. You know what I'm saying? We like to pick them when they fresh and fresh and right. Come here, little 22-year-old baby. So,
like a Mary and Joseph type thing.
Yeah. Kind of like that.
Teenager, and he was.
Yeah, or like a God and Mary. You know, because he's like.
That's what you want to do.
A gajillion, and Mary was like what 20. So anyway. Shout out to God, the original cradle robber.
Stop.
Just joking, God. So anyway, my dad was like, "Nah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and do this." They went to another church and got married, but he was an elder. Oh, I appreciate that. He was an elder, and then I think he basically gave up his eldership or something like that in order to marry my mom.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of tight.
I mean, my mom was a baddie, dog.
Listen,
my mom was a baddie. Mom, if you're listening to this, which I know you're not.
Why your mom ain't listening?
My mom don't be listening to podcasts. My mom not even on Facebook. Mom, you ain't on Facebook. I sent her the podcast though.
What do you think she ever gonna listen?
Like, oh, that's nice.
She gonna surprise you one day.
How? What do you think she's gonna do?
She's just gonna click the link.
Oh, you think so?
And it's gonna take her somewhere, and she's gonna listen to it. She's like, "Why are you yelling? And who's that boy in the background?"
Nah, she gonna be like, finally, you all this talking you've been doing your whole life. At least you put it to some practical use now.
So you were the kid in class that was always talking.
Yeah.
You stayed in trouble in school.
I didn't stay in trouble because I could push the line.
You could work your
I always
way.
had, I got natural charisma. You know what I'm saying? I got a little swag. I'm very charismatic. So I was always like, I could always get out of trouble. But yeah, I was always the guy talking. That was me in the back.
Yeah. So I understand why our dynamic is the way that it is.
Because I was the guy that would get you in trouble.
Oh,
and I would get you talking.
Yeah. Yes. And shout out, hey, Ma. You see, I'm still hanging around knuckleheads. She would be called to the church, to the school every so often, maybe once a year, parent-teacher conference, that type of thing. And the teacher would always say, "He's so friendly. He just needs to pay more attention and use his time wisely and stop talking in class or whatever. Everybody loves him, and he loves everybody." So
yeah,
and I'd be like, is she fussing at me on the way home or come home and fussing at me? And I'd be like, "Well, Ma, I ain't talking. Like he talking to me, and I
right.
She's like, "Leave it, ignore him." I'm like,
yeah, that's a tough lesson to teach a kid, like how to ignore somebody, like how to claim personal responsibility for your actions. Because nobody, I mean, that was one of my biggest lessons. Like, because my biggest excuse was always, Everybody else was doing it, so why can't I do it?
I don't care about them.
I'm not that person's parent.
boy,
As
they
an,
don't live here. I'm not their
right. I'm
mama.
not. I don't pay their bill. And as an adult, I get that. Like that's true. Because if my son said that, I'd be like, well, yeah, but you're the one in trouble. So everybody on the street didn't pay their bills. Guess what? All y'all getting foreclosed on. And if they don't get foreclosed on, that doesn't mean that it's right for you not to pay your bills. You see what I mean? So just because
Yeah.
everybody was talking, you have sovereignty over your mouth, and that was what my dad used to always say.
Sorry. He say
No, he didn't say it like that.
Oh.
But he would say, he would give me the your stuff speech. So it was this speech. My dad used to always give these freaking lectures, and they didn't really resonate until I got older. It was like planting seeds. But he used to give me the your stuff speech. So what I used to do, because I always
Was
like,
your dad long winded?
yeah, I don't know why I'm long winded.
I don't
I'm
know.
actually,
You are.
I wouldn't say I'm long winded. I'll say this.
You are. I am too. Take one to know one. My daddy was
I
long
mean, that's why
winded
we
too.
got a podcast because we like to talk. So it's like, hey, I mean,
It's a perfect platform for us to be long winded.
so the my stuff speech was basically, I'll keep it brief because he would be talking for like 2 hours. Basically, when I was a kid, I used to like, I was like, I'm a very generous person, so I let people just like take my toys, play with my stuff, and I would play with their toys and stuff like that. But a lot of my toys were usually better than my friends' toys. So my dad would be like, "Yo, man, I'm working. I'm giving you this, buying stuff for you, and you giving it to other people." And I was like, "Well, he wanted to play with it." And he'd be like, no. He was like, look,
Yeah.
you got your stuff, and then that's their stuff. So if somebody asks you for your stuff, you tell them, that's my stuff.
Right.
This is mine, and that's yours. And that's how, and like, even to this day, I be telling my wife that, yeah, this is our stuff, and that's their stuff. And it's always my stuff. So when I looked, he would always, take personal responsibility. It's your mouth. So if everybody talking, that don't mean you got to talk. If everybody jump off a bridge, you're going to do it too. Well, I mean, it depends. Maybe something chasing me, I may jump off the bridge, but I'm going to look first. You know what I'm saying? So.
I can only imagine a younger Dan having to have conversations and being able to give in. I don't know if you were given the free space, and I know we're kind of off on something else right now, but it's all good.
I wasn't.
But like you weren't given the free space to like actually articulate.
The funny thing is, here's because my parents
I wasn't really.
I wasn't either. And I think that's just part of being raised in a black family, in an authoritarian household, where my word is law, irrespective of what you say. I'm doing it, even if you're right, even if you make a good point, because I will make some valid points. I will make some valid point. One point, because they always used to tell me, respect is earned, not given. They would always tell me that, right? And then older people would do what I would consider to be disrespectful to me, like treating me like a non-human just because I'm younger than them. Like you're older than me, but that you have nothing to do with that because you came to the planet before I did. You're not, to me, entitled to any more respect than I am. Versus you. Like, I think we're all humans. And this is me as a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid. I was very precocious as a 12-year-old
I know that's
kid.
a word. Don't try me. I know that's
just making show. So I would be like, they would say something, I'd be like, and my dad would be like, oh, that's disrespectful. And I'm like, but they were disrespecting me. He's like, I don't care. You need to respect them. And I used to be like, but I thought respect was earned, not given. And then if I catch them out there, then I get a spanking.
I was about to say, because that right there.
But it was worth it.
That put Daddy on pause.
It was worth it. I'm saying my piece.
You got your point off.
And I'll take my punishment, whatever it so shall be.
Yeah. We definitely need to have maybe another, I don't know if we need another podcast, but like that certainly is a, like for another show, for another time, like we can, unpack, we can unpack that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we can keep it tight, but I think that, I mean, how was your dad?
Man, my dad was super dope, man. Like he would, number one, he never pressed me into anything. Like my dad was when in high school and even before that, he was like the guy that was more mature than everybody else, right? And maturity in his thinking and also maturity in his actions. He was super athletic. Like he was the freshman that started varsity everything, right? He could sing. He could do all the things. He was a nice looking dude. Like beautiful penmanship. But what he never did, like with those high levels of excellence at which he operated, he never pressed me to do anything. And he was a great listener. My dad was hard-headed and stubborn, and I get that honestly. But that works. Being hard-headed and stubborn is not always a negative thing. That works well for
as
people.
As a man, yeah.
So, but when I would have whatever issues in school, because I didn't pay attention well, I said I could have been probably a AB student, but I kind of hung around the mid BC range, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was so much of an extrovert, I think. And my dad would listen to me, ask me questions, tell me how to steer me in the right direction. But even though he was a pastor, he never beat me in the head with the Bible. He never like made that the focal point, because through this filter all things operate. Like he would
Yeah.
just talk to me and I can remember him talking to me in a very mature way at about the age of 10. He wrote me when I turned 10 years old. He wrote me a letter for my birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and I still have it. And it's, how like you watch movies and somebody put a message in a bottle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I took that and rolled it up and put it in the bottle. So
Wow.
it's still in that bottle. I just got to find the bottle. I think the bottle's in my mom's house in my
Sure.
closet.
Yeah.
But just talking about, like, he saw me as a young man, and he always like would talk to me, and so he was like that with me and my brothers and my
Mm-hmm.
sister. So all four of us, you love them equally, but you love them differently.
Right.
And so I just always appreciated that. And my mom was like that, but not as much. Like, my dad was the leader in that category. My
Mm-hmm.
mom was the fiery. My mom was the disciplinarian, that type of thing. My mom was right up and down the road to the school, and that type of thing. If I would have gotten out of all the weapons or punishment, well, we got whooped, we got beat, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call
we
it.
got spanked.
Yeah, spank. They call it spank now. Them things didn't feel like
Oh,
they,
well,
they
our
felt like
parents
whoopings.
they defined it as spanking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll leave it to what it
yeah. They
is.
believed it was biblical, which
Yeah.
I don't. Just so you know.
There's a my dad. If my mama gave me 100, my dad might have given me one or two. Like,
Yeah, of course.
in
Because your dad just had to look.
he had to look
My dad had to
that
look.
conversation. But if it got beyond the look or the conversation,
Yeah.
like them few that I got
Mm-hmm.
were legendary. I can remember them joints like, oh, I'm dying today. Like type of thing.
I remember the last time my mom officially spanked me, I was 13 years
Oh, we gonna
old.
tell this story.
And I was, because the funny thing about it was, I mean, it was pretty much the same. See, my parents have always been, and to their credit, they're great parents.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot from them, what to do, what not to do. But one thing I will say is they spent a large portion of their lives trying to change my personality, which it never changed. It has
Did they
not
do that with
changed.
your other brothers too?
My other brother, he was different. He was always just like very. My brother and my dad did not get along at all.
Okay.
Actually, I think they got some like past life stuff. I don't know what your level of belief was on that, but I'm pretty certain they had some past life issues, and
Okay.
they this lifetime they were just working it out, just like, because for some strange reason my dad did not like my brother.
And that's his natural born child,
Yeah,
biological.
yeah. I even asked my mom. I was like, "Mom, is he, because he's the black sheep?" Like,
Oh.
me and my dad. And see, the thing is, I was always smart enough to know not to directly confront my father. Right. So even today, like, I'm always. I mean, I guess maybe that's why I'm in real estate, because I was always the mitigator, right? The negotiator. They're like, oh, okay, like, let me make a joke to like ease his tension, because my
Yeah.
brother about to get smacked again, and my brother would get smacked, but he wouldn't learn his lesson. Which I honestly think my brother was a diagnosed undiagnosed autistic.
Really.
Yeah, I think he's autistic, and just never been diagnosed, because
Mm.
when I look back and read the definition, because now they're diagnosing people as autistic, because we recognize that as a what they call neurodivergent brain, a neurodivergent brain, right? Where it's like, okay, your brain's just set up a little bit different. But back then we just call them retarded, right? It's like, oh, you stupid, or you retarded, or you're being difficult, or you being they used to say, oh, you got an attitude, or you don't got common sense. That was his
Defiant.
big thing, right? Define For him, it was common sense. That's just common sense. Like, everybody should know it. My brother never got it, and that's because
Mm.
I believe he was just undiagnosed autistic. But my dad, it's like, if I say do something, then do it. Like, I don't understand why we're having a conversation about this. I just said do it, and my
Mm-hmm.
brother would be like, but and I'd be like, okay, well, I don't want that. So yeah, but because of that, I got pretty close with my dad, just because, I guess, out of a survival tactic. Like, I don't want to be the one getting my butt kicked every week.
Yeah.
And him and my brother just never ever got along.
You know. So I know we need to move on,
And
but
he got less spankings than me, but
the ones he
he got
got, memorable. You remember them, so I know he remember. Um, you know what? you brought up a good. What's that? What's the? You said
Neurodivergent.
Yeah, there you
Uh
go.
huh.
And it made me think like I see these, you know, people, children, whomever that get diagnosed with this whatever
Yeah.
thing, right? And then you look at okay, they say that you are this, but then you look at the definition of what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and I look at the definition, and I've over years I've asked myself, is that me in
Sure.
certain ways? And then I see the next thing, I'm like, was that the reason why I couldn't focus in
Mm-hmm.
these things? And then I see a number of things, but like I have a huge, I mean, a huge issue. I can't even say at what level or where it ranks in like the things that I dislike, but like labels,
Yeah.
the labeling thing. Like I have such a high level issue with labels,
Yeah.
and especially labels that other people try to put on me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have the ability to, in a lot of ways, to diagnose. If you just be honest with yourself, take inventory, right?
Right.
Take inventory of who you are, and like I'm like, oh, okay, that's me. And
Right.
sometimes, but there's other times where you can't see because the first person you're
Sure.
blinded. So I think like, man, when you said that, like I've looked at the autism thing. I've looked at the. I had a young kid. Shout out to you, Mr. Park. I ain't gonna call you first name. I ain't gonna put you out there. But he's a young man that is so phenomenal to me. Like his mom, I used to coach him in basketball. Couldn't figure out how to get that boy to work.
Yeah.
To work.
Yeah.
And she said he's on the spectrum. And I was like, what is that? That was my
Oh,
first. That was my
that's
introduction to the
good.
spectrum.
Yeah.
And I coached his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother, I could say, do this, do that, and no problem.
Right.
Other kids, I never had a problem with communicating and getting these young people to actually execute. Could not get this dude to execute. Man, went to his mom. I said, like, I'm frustrated because I can't figure it out, and I know I can do it. She said he's on the spectrum. I said, what is it? So she started telling me he's Asperger's and all that. She said, give him a job, and just make it very simple.
Yeah.
And watch him do that to the best
Yeah.
of his ability. And I did it, and he went from being a short dude in one season. Once I figured that out early in our season, he went from the short guy I didn't trust to being someone he was getting a bunch of playing time towards the end of the season, to where he was starting in the playoff, to where he actually helped us win the championship,
Wow.
to lock down their primary defender.
Yeah.
And like when I tell you, it was like the most amazing thing. He goes on to grow to be about 6'1", 6'2",
Wow.
a high jumper, loves track, dunking the basketball.
Yeah.
And then he got a scholarship, I think, at Christopher Newport or Old Dominion or something like that. Like he's like legit. And then every now and then, I think he's probably about 20, 22 now. He'll hit me every now and then, be like, "Hey, thank you for helping me become a better man. I realized what you were teaching me back then." He would say stuff like crazy stuff like, "Thank you for being patient with me," and I was like, "That's what it's all for."
Yeah.
That's the
And that's beautiful because it's like, I mean, one, I will say to your point, I think I'll say this. It's good that you knew because when you know, then you can adjust your expectation.
yeah, for sure.
And when you run it through the filter of of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
you can say, "Oh, okay, well, I know that this is the way his brain is set up,"
Mm-hmm.
and so you can approach him this, especially with people on the autistic spectrum. You give them a task, they're going to do that task. But if they don't have a task and you don't clearly define what they need to be doing, then because their brains don't, that's just how their brains are set up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that now I will say I do believe also that this culture, with social media and things like that. One, social media is designed to reduce our attention spans.
To reduce it,
Of course, because they want to keep
Yeah.
you on the platform.
yeah.
So they can send you ads, right? Because they want to generate revenue. So how can we figure out a way to keep them on the platform longer? And you can see social media moving towards more short form content, 6-second clips, 7-second clips, and then we get that dopamine rush because we saw something that was entertaining to us. So then, we get another dopamine rush every 6 seconds, every 6 seconds, every 6 seconds. And what we're actually doing, what they've found, like they've studied with brain scans, we're actually our brains, the physiology of our brains is changing
Due to the emergence of social
due
media.
to social media. Our ability, I mean, think about it for a second. We could sit for, I mean, we had back in the 80s, we had the ability to wait a whole week for a show to come every Thursday, right? And there was never any like question or sense of lack
You
or
knew it, 8
sense of
o'clock.
boredom. It's like, okay, 8 o'clock, I'm in the house. I'm watching the Cosby Show. I'm watching Fresh Prince on Monday. I'm watching Cheers
Right.
after the Cosby Show, right?
And you base your life
You
around.
base your life around the TV guy because you know, okay, well, right, and there was no sense of lack, like, oh, there's nothing on, because there was always something on. You just, channel 4, channel 9, channel 10,
You had to wait.
UPS if you had to wait for you. Then UPS came out. I mean, not UPS. What was it?
UPN.
UPN, yeah, the You Black Niggas Network, right?
that's little
Little brother.
brother.
You
Shout
are
out.
watching UPN, You Black Niggas Network.
Shout out Knife Wonder, Fonte, and
Big Pooh, y'all.
yes, sir. Rapper Big Pooh. They
So
one
yeah, I
of my
think that a
favorites.
lot of people, because of social media, a lot of people think that they have some type of diagnosis, some type of neurodivergent, and I think that's kind of like cool now to say, "Oh, I'm ADHD, I'm ADD, I'm ADHD." I mean, sure, but not clinically. I would think it's
Yeah.
more just habitually, and we can also expand our attention spans just by reading books, taking social media breaks, a good month-long break. After that first week, once you detox, your brain will snap back to normal, and you can actually like sit outside and just like watch the trees and be entertained by nature, as opposed to constantly having a device flipping, looking for the next
Yeah.
dopamine hit. You know what I mean?
And when I went to, and maybe your medical background can help confirm, or you might get what I'm saying. I was in Colorado at this retreat early last year, and they talked about some of the images that you see online, um, or just being able to like have like you like what you see basically.
Right.
That dopamine hit is and they're talking about houses, shoes, sneakers, whatever, anything
Yeah.
that you like, and you see and you're looking at it and you bump to the next thing, you bump to the next thing, like the hit that you get. They said it was like 10 to 14 times more potent than heroin,
Wow.
right? Like that type of. And I have to go back and I wrote it down, and I have to go back and look at. It might even be in my phone, but when I saw that, and that's the addiction. That's why people can't get off of it, because you keep getting this dopamine hit, like the way that it was just. I have to go back and look at it, and I'm sure maybe if you think about it, outside this moment, maybe you'll be able to figure out what I'm talking about. But I remember sitting in that room and being like, "Yo, that's why." Wait a minute, 14 times, 10 times more addictive than heroin?
Yeah.
That's the reason why you can't stop doing.
I mean, I often wonder how they quantify those 10 times more. Like, how do you you get like a double-blind study of like heroin addicts, and then you give them, 20 heroin addicts heroin, and then you give 20 people social media, and then
I think
you do a survey. Like,
if I go back,
that?
I might even have some emails they sent me about it, but because I actually followed up with the dude that was talking about it, and I do remember like these images of the brain, like how you see that
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about,
yeah,
like
MRIs.
And I was like, yo, that's crazy. And I think what they measure what the brain looks like on. What your brain looks like on drugs.
Sure. Yeah, I got you.
So maybe something like that. But anyway, I don't even know what we were talking about, how we got on that. But
so would you rather? Let's get to it. Would you rather have universal respect or unlimited power?
Universal respect or unlimited power? I think I like the universal respect.
Why?
Because unlimited power, the first thing that I thought was like, well, if I had unlimited power, I could make people respect me. But my belief, God the Father, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus, those are people who have. That's all that has unlimited power. I think you understand that. So, and when I feel respected, I feel loved, right? And so I would say unlimited respect. What about you?
I'll take the power.
Would you?
Yeah. I don't care about respect. You don't gotta respect me. Just do what I'm telling you to do. I'm good.
Look, I can respect that.
That's why I'm a real estate agent. I want all control of my life in my hands. I want my destiny in my hands. I don't want my destiny tied to a boss if he likes me or not. I don't want my destiny tied to, a job or coworkers or whatever. No, I want my destiny tied to my own hustle. Me waking up, getting up, doing what I got to do, managing my money the way I need to manage my money, and going to bed when I want to go to bed. If I want to take off, if I don't want to do nothing, I ain't gonna do nothing. I'll take the power. You respect me or don't respect me, that's fine.
But so when you put that power, when you talk about that power, that's you put it in that work box, like power and
No, I
authority.
mean, well, yeah, I put power
But
as far as like control. I
because when
think
you
I
said
use
power,
those
I thought about like
synonymously.
world. I thought about like worldwide. When you said universal, right? I think about universal respect, like from Australia to Hawaii and everywhere in between. Like I'm thinking like everybody will respect
Yeah, I
me,
mean,
right?
I'm thinking power like, I'll go to like any galaxy and create, you know, I'd move planets around and like move solar systems around, like,
That's
you
what
know what I'm saying? I would
yeah.
jump to the end of the universe and just like stand there and like
But
play with
I
the
thought about
joint.
power. I thought about power like just in the earth, right? So I
hmm
understand what you're saying.
hmm
Um, and I'm like, man, I don't. I still haven't all the way learned how to navigate through properly using my authority now. Like
Really?
because I'm still learning myself. Like there's a lot.
hmm
You were talking about our upbringing, right? And certain conditioning, and we even talked about generational curses.
hmm
Like I'm I'm so much more comfortable in my skin now than I've ever been, and like I like me, but I'm learning how to like really use all the tools that are inside of me,
Yeah.
but also identifying how to filter and push away the
Yeah.
toxic things and like I need to get rid of those things. So if I figure like I'm still learning how to navigate through what exists in this 45-year-old body, if you give me universal power or unlimited power, I'm gonna screw up a whole lot of stuff.
Why do you think you would screw up a whole bunch? You have unlimited power, so you could fix it. If I had unlimited power, it's like this. You can have unlimited respect, but you can still be broke. Everybody respect you, but you can't feed your family. Like you ain't got no shoes on your feet, but everybody respect you.
But me knowing like the respect that I have, I feel like me having unlimited respect, like there's certain things that happen to you, for you, with you,
Mm-hmm.
just from someone like I respect him so much, like I whatever, like life becomes a little bit less challenging in some ways when you got respect there. As so as evidenced by in my business, I can easily feel disrespected, and let me tell you why.
Mm.
When I have a client, you send me, I'm gonna use you because you sitting in front of me. You send me a client. This person has no idea, and I'm saying this because this has actually happened to me. Has no idea how to navigate through. Doesn't understand credit. Understand finances. I I walk them through hand holding, got a baby bib and all that.
Right.
Like tell them how to do it. Here's what your credit looks like. Here's a plan. Here's how we navigate. This is where you are. This is where some mistakes have been made. Here's how we set a plan and go forward. Let's look at it in 3 months. We do that. Everything explodes for the good. We're at like 700s or whatever. And in the meantime, what I don't know is they've been on the background researching to figure out
Uh-huh.
what happens when things. I know where I am, but what happens when I go here?
Right.
Well, they get to that spot and then now we're under contract. It's happened in a new construction contract. I won't forget it because at the beginning I
Uh-huh.
said, "You're right here. I can qualify you, but if you get to this spot, I'm gonna give you a plan. By the time this house is built in 6 months, I'll have you so right."
Right.
As they did the research on the back end, figured out they took my information and they went somewhere else, and they
yeah.
and I was like, and I felt so disrespected by that.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's happened to me a few times,
Yeah.
not simply with new construction, but in other situations when
Yeah.
I put everything, just like when I talked about my the player I coach, which is how the Coach Marcus thing came about, because
Mm.
I am I'm in it with you. I'm a put together the plan to help you execute this thing, and you're gonna win every single time when you listen to me, right? So when it's happened over and over, like I'm like, yo, I took
Right.
the time that
Right.
nobody else would do.
I think
But
that's what they. I mean, that's the rub, man. Like being a business owner is like, you know, you can take the
does that happen to
time.
y'all too?
Yeah, it's my guy. I literally.
Well,
So
I guess it
I'm
would.
gonna
Yeah.
ask you about a deal, that just collapsed that you was telling me about. I want to hear about that. But it's happened to me. Literally, I'll tell you right now. Literally, I just saw on Facebook this lady sat down, called me several times. I missed one of her call. Dan, I want to use you as my realtor. I love what you're doing on Instagram and Facebook. I just love it. And we grew up together. She seen we grew up with all this stuff, right? I was like, oh, all right. And there's another real estate agent in our circle, another real estate agent in our circle or whatever. And she was like, she was like, Dan, I'm gonna definitely use you. I'm only so I sat down, did the buyer consultation with her. We was kikiing it up. Oh man, you so fine. I love you. Da da da. I'm like, okay, bet. So well, let's get you. I think I sent her to you. I'm not gonna say her name. And she goes, yeah, because I was going to use that other guy, but I'm going with you. I'm not gonna mess with him. I'm dealing with you only. Da da da. I'm like, all right, bet, cool. Well, let's pull your credit. Credit was good. Then she hit me up a couple of days later. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wait like 6 months or something like that. Then I'm gonna call you. Da da da. I'm like, okay, cool. What do you think? Literally last week, she on Facebook. I just bought a house with this other guy. Literally, and I'm like, okay, that's the breaks. That's the business. Because long story short, I know y'all probably don't want to hear, but in sales they always say buyers are liars. Not to say that y'all are lying, but people's situations change, and we as professionals do not know everything that's going on in people's lives.
Yeah.
And like one of my real estate coaches always says, like, look, the cure to one bad deal is 10 more deals. So,
Yeah.
like in my career, I've learned, and I've dealt with it because we're in, as much as people say it's just business, it really ain't. You can say it,
Yeah.
but it ain't, because you're putting your personal brand, your name. It's not like opening up a donut shop or opening up a Starbucks or a McDonald's or a Kinko's. You're Coach Marcus. Like, it's your name on it. I'm Dan the realtor. It's my name on it. So it's easy for us as in the type of business that we're in, the people business, to take it personally, to say, well, if you didn't choose me, it's because you didn't like me. Which, okay, fine. But we also have to throw in the other half of it, which is they obviously have some other things going on in their life too. And the cure for one deal falling through is 10 more deals. So it does sting, and it can feel disrespectful. And at the same time, like we were talking about earlier, analyzing our beliefs, constantly auditing our beliefs. Does that belief serve what we're trying to do, or does it hinder what we're trying to do? If it doesn't serve, then you know what? F it. I'm gonna just drop it. Like, maybe
Yeah.
they call it the what if game, or the yeah, I think it's not the what if game. It's the question game. Like, basically, if somebody cuts you off in the middle of the street, right? As humans, we're automatically designed to be egocentric. That's just what we are. We're
Yeah.
egocentric by nature. When we come out, all we care about is ourselves. And feed me, like my kid. He's the most egocentric human that I've ever met,
Because
and I love him.
he care about his pamper and his stomach.
He care about himself, and that's how that's what our biology has evolved us to be, egocentric. Otherwise, he would die. So he has to be. We have to be. And as we get older, our job, I believe, is to restrict that egocentric nature so that we can evolve to a higher level of consciousness, so that we're not always seeking to serve ourselves, but that we're seeking to embetter our family, and then our community, and then the world,
Yeah.
right? And so if what we're doing checks those three boxes, Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time in 12 Rules for Life. How do you know what you're doing is good? If what you're doing is beneficial to your family first. Then if it's beneficial to your family, but not beneficial to your community, it's not good. If what you're doing is beneficial to your family and to your community, then it's good. But if it's not beneficial to the world, but beneficial to your community and yourself, it's not good. If you can check all three of those boxes, say this is good for my family, this is good for my community, and this is good for the world at large, then what you're doing is good. That's how he states it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can say, oh yeah, well, for us to evolve to our next level, I'm not just doing what's good for me, and that's why it actually does go into what I wrote there, which is being married, which to me, and I know y'all single out there, like, oh, being single, but I can categorically tell you, being married, you will never be as happy as a single person as you will be being married, and then you will never be as happy married until you have kids. The level of happiness that you will experience having children is exponentially greater than you could ever experience as a childless person. And you can disagree. I'm telling you, it's the truth.
And I'm not even saying I disagree. I'm just wondering, like, the measurement of that. Like,
I'm talking about the.
How long you and your wife been together?
We've been together about 5. Well, we've been together about 6 years. We've been married for 5 years, 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Okay.
That part's always confusing to me because I'm like, are we looking at the year anniversary or how long we've been together? Yeah.
Well. So I've been married 8 years, and I don't know how far you can go back in your mind to think about like what life was really like before before you met her, Alexandra, right?
Alejandra.
Alejandra.
He's straight.
I ain't got no Spanish accent, Alejandro. But so like life as a single man, cool, right? You figure out ways to navigate and whatever, happiness, whatever. But then there's something like about finding the person that meets like that just fits you, and you feel like you fit them based on how they interact with you, and I feel the same way about Tiff. Like I know however many relationships I might have had, and you might have had, there's something that just didn't let you turn that corner,
right?
But there's a sense of happiness that makes you say, "Oh, I don't need nothing else."
The level of happiness that you will experience as a married person is 100,000 times greater than you ever will experience. And conversely, the level of sadness that you will experience is exponentially greater.
Sadness from what?
The level of happiness that you can experience as a single person is capped. It's a finite amount.
Okay.
And the level of sadness is capped. It's a finite amount.
Okay.
Then when you get married, now you have another person that you have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of happiness expands. So you reach higher levels of happiness than you ever did when you were single. And you also experience lower lows than you've ever experienced when you're married, because that's just the nature of marriage. And then you step into that next level of consciousness, of evolution, when you have a child. And then your capacity for happiness grows to a level that you never even... I look at my kid, I'm like, I've never seen somebody who just looks at me and is just like...
It changes everything for you.
He's happy to see me. Like, everybody else that I've ever experienced in my life is happy to see me as long as I can do something for them, including my wife. Now, hers is obviously not like everybody else, but still there's a level of, okay, if you stop performing, like, God forbid, I do something outside of our marriage, or I beat her, punch her in her face, right? Her feelings for me will change.
You got real.
Right? Yeah, straight up. Because there's a finite amount where she's going to draw the line and be like, this is no longer beneficial to me.
Right.
And I think that's where divorce and stuff comes in. But with your kids, it's like, it's just pure.
Mm-hmm.
And as a single person, you cannot experience that. You just cannot experience the level of happiness. And then, conversely, you will never experience the amount of lows that you can experience with a child as you will with I mean, God forbid your kid dies, or is sick, or he's just not feeling good. It's like, oh, man, I've never... And so I think that's why the institution of marriage and having kids, and I don't care if y'all disagree with me, I'm telling you that if you don't have kids and you're not married, you're missing out on the purpose of life.
There is a large element of agreement. I mean, I agree with you 100%. There's something that's you just can't. It's almost like you can't even put it to words. Like how much you love your wife.
Right.
Okay. Or how mad are you at your wife
Yeah.
or whatever. You can't
Right.
really put it into words,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then like same thing. How much do you love your child, like your son? Like I cannot put into intelligible words
Yeah.
how much I love Taya,
And
right?
and
Or
there's no way you could have experienced that as a single person.
right. It's impossible.
It's
Like because
impossible.
you're feeling what whatever they have now, whatever category box they've checked, category they've filled, or whatever that you want to call that. They've done it to such a degree where like it's bubbled over, and like
Yeah.
whatever that container might have been that it
Yep.
needed to be filled up,
Yep.
like that vase, like them coming in it has bubbled it all the way over.
Yep.
It's running over. It cannot even be stopped. What you're saying actually reminds me of something that I was saying probably in the last 5 years of telling my wife about family can bring you to your highest of highs and lowest of lows.
Absolutely.
Like the greatest of joys, but the deepest of hurts. And like on one side you say when it's good,
Yeah.
and when it's great, it's like there's nothing better in life. But then sometimes you be like you be like,
And that's the purpose of
I need a break.
and I think that people get this. I think as a culture we're missing the mark, and we've been taught, especially in our culture, it's like, oh, be single, enjoy your youth, and this is the time for you to explore and to get to know yourself.
I
You
think
don't
that's a
you
trap. I
It's a
think
trap,
that's a
bro.
trap.
It's a trap, and you can't know yourself until you're married. You cannot know yourself until you have a kid.
You can't
You
know.
don't know.
I'll take it even further. You can't know yourself until you are required to serve somebody else.
Correct, bro.
Because
Service.
you being married,
That's the magical word.
you
That's the
be
title of the show.
listen. You being married is all about serving someone else.
And
Because
and as men, especially, I think a lot of men what I think the mark a lot of men miss is the fact that we are supposed to be we are mandated to be givers only. A man who is in
by
constant
who?
God, the universe,
Uh, uh, uh.
our biology,
Okay.
whatever,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Because a man who is constantly in receiving mode, give, I guarantee, invariably he will be unhappy, or he'll be
For sure.
bitter,
Yeah.
or he'll be ornery, because he's always in receive mode. What are you gonna give me? What you bringing to the table? Da 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 da. We are givers. That's all we're supposed to do. And when you said the word love my wife, which yes, I love my wife. To me, a stronger word, and this is just personally, is duty. I have a duty to my wife. I have a duty to my son.
I
I love them, but to me, duty is above. To me, duty is a stronger word than just
I want to
love.
hear your definition because I think I know where you're going,
Yeah, well,
and
I
I
mean,
think I agree.
I think they're all very strong words. I think love. I think love ebbs and flows. Like definitely is ephemeral.
Yeah,
Sometimes I don't like my wife. Sometimes my wife don't
life
like me.
like is even more fleeting
Yeah,
than
and like it's an appetizer. You gotta like your wife before you love her, and then. But I think duty is even larger because duty is required irrespective of if you love your wife, if you like your wife. It's still duty. I could be beefing with my wife, and guess what? I'm still gonna go up and get this money because I have a duty to her. And if I was single, and I'm telling you, when I was single, I didn't have any. If you're not married and you want money, get married. I guarantee
bruh.
it's going to expand your territory
Listen,
more because it's gonna put a battery in you where you go, okay, I'm not just working for myself now. I gotta feed these people. And the moment I got married, that's when I got my investment property. That's when I got this property out here. That's when my business started taking off.
can, so I don't have to keep giving the qualifier of like what I believe and who I believe and what I read, but like there's scripture that says that when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing,
Right.
and most people stop it there.
Mm.
But it says and obtains favor from the Lord, right?
Right.
When I looked at that, I was like, obtain favor from the Lord, and I'm totally high fiving you from across the room because like so many things have come in my life from getting married, right?
Yep.
Like many opportunities have been provided, things not just for us, but opportunities to bless other people and to do things
Right.
for other people. And I heard shout out to AJ, um, AJ Johnson, Alan Johnson, one of my big brothers in the business. I saw when his wife left her corporate job and came and started working with him in his business. He's down in the Woodbridge area.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you his business exploded, what he was doing was cool, but you're running in two different lanes.
Right.
Providing for the household, taking care of your job, corporate job, taking care of your husband, taking care of your family, providing for the household, building a business, whatever. But then they said, "Oh, we doing this," and sometimes it's operating
Sure.
at different speeds, at different
Right.
times, different
Right.
intervals, and offsetting schedules. But then when they did this and they came and worked together,
Yep.
when Crystal came and worked for that company, and now they're doing
Oh
this,
wow.
they're doing this,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can see the girls, and you can see like that allowed him and his dad were always, dad was already into it down in like Charlottesville area, but then like the opportunities like begin to explode. I mean, and we talk about HGTV, but he's been on HGTV and there's so many things. Like he's the top 1% of 1%, like of all of realtors in the nation. And but more than anything, he's got a sense of stability and comfort level. And he's just an overall good dude anyway. He country
Yeah.
boy. Virginia makes some good. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
he a
That's
Virginia
debatable.
boy.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I throw it to you so you can see.
What's that?
But
2 plus 2?
VA boy. He might
It
be
was
four.
backwards, by the way.
It wasn't backwards. This is VA.
Nah, I'm messing with you.
Dyslexic. But I'm just shouting, high fiving your point. Like some things just cannot happen.
Yeah.
As a single person.
It can't.
Now and then you can go to all the brunches you want.
I mean, you could
Sunday
be
fun
you could
day.
be successful. Hey, yo, I'm telling you,
You
even if
definitely
you're
can be
successful and you're
yes.
single, I guarantee every successful man who is single, you will whatever you got, it will be exponentially greater when you're married.
But you gotta be aligned though, and
I'm putting that as a given.
yeah.
I'm putting that as a given. I'm saying in a good, successful, happy, productive marriage.
Yes.
And I'll say to wrap this up, like I was saying, men are givers.
Make a long story even
Make
less
a long story a little bit less long. That men are givers, and if you are a man, your job is to give. Our bodies are set up that way. If you notice, our bodies are set up to give.
We are the plug.
Women are set up to receive. And if you're a man,
plug and outlet.
exactly. If you're a man and you're always trying to receive, you're in your feminine. And if you're in your feminine and your wife is in her feminine, now you got two feminines in the house, and that's not going to work.
So we're gonna stop there. We're gonna stop right here because you ain't but one way we can go with this conversation. So
that's where it is. That's where. I mean, I'm just saying.
What's the next thing? What's the next?
That's it, man. We go wrap it up. If you like this podcast, we took it in another direction today, and I'm really glad that we did.
Yeah.
Because me and Marcus are not just real estate agents, but we're also very deeply spiritual people. Definitely family men, and I like the fact that the content that we put out is just the content that we put out. And if you liked it, hop on YouTube first. We want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Thumbs
up
and subscribe. Thumbs up. Put on notifications. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're not subscribed, you are stealing our content. You must subscribe. If you're watching and you don't want to subscribe, then please do not watch. If you're going to watch, you must subscribe. Leave a comment at the bottom of our podcast.
If you're going to watch, you must subscribe.
If you watch, you must subscribe. Otherwise, you're stealing our content. Do not take our content without subscribing, because we need subscribers on YouTube, because we're building this platform.
Yeah.
We want to be able to bring more content to y'all, and we appreciate all the feedback that we've been getting. Like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. We're here every Wednesday. My name is Dan the Realtor.
Mortgage Coach Marcus.
And we are out. Yeah, I like that.